Candida Auris. The CDC is calling this a serious global health threat. Serious global health threats are pandemics. To truly understand the scope of this, you have to conceptualize first a pandemic. 1346 to 1353, the bubonic plague was a pandemic. 1918 to 1919, the Spanish flu, also a pandemic. The CDC is not calling Candida Auris a global health threat. They are calling Candida Auris a serious global health threat. The use of the adjective serious should say something, because any global health threat is serious. So to find it appropriate to use the adjective serious should also make it appropriate for you to feel the urge to take it seriously. It's like when a teenage girl says to her friend she's serious versus she's super serious. And the CDC is super serious about Candida Auris. Hello and welcome to That Is Nice podcast, ladies and gentlemen. So let's just jump right into it. What is Candida Auris? Candida Auris is a highly contagious, multi-drug resistant fungal infection that is extremely contagious, has an extremely high mortality rate, and is spreading quite rapidly. Now let's take a look at it in the United States. I'm going to show you a map of the cases. The fungus was first seen for the first time in 2013. Dr. Lynn Sosa, Connecticut's deputy state epidemiologist, try to say that 3 times in a row. When you done? Okay. Told the New York Times that she views Candida Auris as pretty much unbeatable and difficult to identify. Now, okay, that's fine and dandy, but why? Why is it unbeatable? Why is it difficult to identify? Well, you find it in people with compromised immune systems. They are the most vulnerable to it. Because people with Candida Auris are sick, a lot of the symptoms with Candida Auris and their illness, they overlap. So you could misdiagnose what they have. You could think, oh, someone has the flu. So you treat them as if they have the flu, but in reality, they have Candida Auris. Misdiagnosis, they'll lead to mistreatments. Candida Auris can be commonly found in nursing homes and hospitals, but that doesn't mean it can't be found in your home, because it is, as I said, highly contagious. So it can be spread from person to person by just touching the same equipment or object or item, any surface. It can be spread that easily. That's why it's so common in nursing homes and hospitals. Let's see, you have physical therapy. Everybody's touching the beams. If one person has Candida Auris, they touch the beams. If they don't clean them, then, the next guy could get it. How bad is it? I got notes here because I'm not a doctor, and I wanted to make sure that I got this stuff right because I don't want to lie to you, the viewer. I'm not going to be like that. This isn't fake news. How bad is it? Well, let's look at it like this. The mortality rate of malaria is 20%. Malaria is pretty bad. Malaria kills lots of people. It's a very bad thing to have. You get it from mosquitoes. If you would like to take a guess at what the mortality rate of Candida Auris is, go for it. Is it more? Is it less? You name it. Well, I'm just going to go right off and tell you. It's 50%. The mortality rate for patients who had Candida Auris had a mortality rate of 50%. Mind you, the 30-day mortality rate of Candida Auris is 35.2. In 30 days, 35.2% of them passed away. And at the end of it all, about 50% passed away from this. As of February in 2019, confirmed cases of Candida Auris in the U.S., this is February 2019, 587 with 300 probable, 309 of them from New York, 144 from Illinois. They're top in the list. Below this report, it also says something that I just read because on accident, actually. And if you look at the bottom, it says, beyond the clinical case count reported above, an additional 1,056 patients have been found to be colonized with Candida auris by targeted screening in 7 states with clinical cases. So what does that mean? Well, to me, that means it's a lot worse than we think it is. That's just 7 extra states that they did not include in this chart. And just take into consideration, this has really only been, the fungus was first seen in the U.S. in 2013. It's now 2019. It doesn't sound like a lot, but it is. It really is. It really is. They're calling it a serious global health threat for a reason. But why, importantly, why haven't you heard about this? Why haven't you heard about this? Why has no one really heard about this? I stumbled upon this because my girlfriend has an autoimmune disease. She has lupus. So I'm I'm frequently reading articles about medical related things. And I just kind of stumbled across this by just sheer accident. And I read into it more and I read into it more. And I went, this is a big problem. No one's talking about this. I'll talk about this. It was kept secret by the CDC and hospitals to avoid and I quote, publicizing an outbreak would scare people unnecessarily. So to keep them calm, I don't agree with this. I really disagree with this tactic. I see the good in it. Like if you have somebody and they're having the time of their life, but they don't know they're about to die. I'm sure there's a movie about this. They don't know they're about to die in like a day, but you know they're about to die in a day. And you're like, should I tell them they're going to die in a day and ruin their last day? Or should I let them just die happy and just not know? Kind of that thing. But here's the thing. I don't agree with this because I see this as, say you're at a friend's house and you're in the bathroom, okay? You're urinating and he's in the kitchen. And as you're in the bathroom and he's in the kitchen, you hear just a loud smash. Something smashes. And you say to your friend, what the heck was that? And he goes, nothing. And you tell your friend, but I heard something break. What was that? He goes, you didn't hear nothing. It's fine. And then you just kind of let it go. And then when you go, you walk out of the bathroom, you open the door, take your first step, and you step on a piece of glass. Just a shattered piece of glass. And you're like, why didn't you tell me about this? And he says, I didn't want you to panic. That's the thing, you know. He don't want me to panic. It's not like I'm not getting charged by like a 800-pound grizzly bear. There's not a bear just going full sprint coming at me. I'd be panicking. I was like, I got split-second decisions to make here. You know, is he going to let me get mauled by this grizzly bear, which is probably the only case scenario that's going to happen because you're not going to be able to fight it off. You're not going to be able to run away. Am I going to get mauled by this grizzly bear? Or is he just going to let me not know this grizzly bear is coming so I can at least, die not freaking out? That's the only time you can say something to someone and not have them panic, is if it's immediate, imminent danger. This is not immediate, imminent danger. Why? Because it's not charging at us like an 800-pound grizzly bear would be. So you tell us. Why do you tell us? So that we could be more cautious of it and know about it, just like the buddy who didn't tell you about the glass that was on the floor because he didn't want you to panic. But if he told you about the glass on the floor, you could have been more cautious when you were walking out. Maybe you could have just looked down when you walked out, because there's glass there before you walk out, so you don't step on it. They're that friend. But they tell us about things like Ebola. Ebola had at most 11 cases. I'm going to jump into that later. I want to get back to this. I want to get back on track. Okay. So here's a brief timeline of Candida auris. So the origins of Candida auris, they're not known. We don't know where it comes from, why it exists, why it's resistant to all of these drugs. We don't know any of this. So in 2009, the very first case was caught, and it was caught in Japan. And then by 2012, it has spread to South Africa, Central and South America. So now it's gone across the pond. 2013, now it's in the U.S. 2015, now it's in Europe. The CDC first alerted healthcare providers of Candida auris in 2016, June of 2016, as an emerging threat. You know who they didn't alert? Me or you. They didn't alert us. Thank God for the internet, because I wouldn't have known about it. Let's see. And in 2017, here's what was going on with Candida auris. So the first case was 2016. Now we're in 2017. All U.S. cases responded to drugs, but some strains had they're called elevated minimum inhibitory concentrations. So what this essentially means is if you have a petri dish, and inside of that petri dish you have 100 fungi, and then you put a drug in the petri dish, 95 of those fungi, they die. 5 of them survive. Those 5 survivors are the ones that have elevated minimum inhibitory concentrations. Try saying that 3 times. Try saying Candida auris 3 times. That's another global health threat. It's the way we word these things. So I have some questions. These are my questions about Candida auris, and I think these are probably the same ones as you. Okay, why isn't it being talked about? We heard more about the outbreak of Ebola in 2014. It had 11 cases total in the U.S. 11 cases. And only 2 of them were within the U.S. The rest were from travelers returning back to the U.S. They got it overseas. 2. Just 2. Really just 2. But everybody knows about Ebola. Everybody heard about Ebola. Every news organization reported Ebola. 2014 was the year of Ebola. 2000 was Y2K. 2014 was Ebola. That's why they had those glasses going into 2014 instead of the 2, the 0, the 0, and the 1, 4, however they decided to do it. Just said Ebola. And you could see through the O was a lens, and the A was a lens. And I got you, just so you know. So why do we hear about this? That's like that same friend you have who didn't want you to panic, that terrible, lousy friend you have who doesn't think straight. That's like him telling you that his uncle 3 towns away dropped a box of thumbtacks on the floor in his house. 3 blocks away from where you are right now. And keep in mind, you have no intention on even going to them. It wasn't even in question. There was no debate of going to your uncle's house, and you're not going to his uncle's house. You're not going to do it. But he's telling you that there's a watch out, there's thumbtacks on the floor. Doesn't matter. There's no direct threat because you're not going to be walking on his floor. That's what Ebola is. But Candida auris is like if he dropped thumbtacks in his own house and he doesn't tell us. Doesn't make any sense. I'm just saying. Ebola was essentially useless information to Americans. There's no direct threat relative to Candida auris to us. I'll be linking information from the CDC on Candida auris in the description. Tomorrow, as in probably today, because this one came out a little late, I will be doing a podcast on the controversy surrounding 5G internet. Let me know your thoughts and feelings down below in the comments. Have a good morning, evening, night, whenever you're watching this. Ladies and gentlemen, this is That Is Nice podcast, and thank you very much for tuning in.